Hi, I'm Jo Ritchie, personal business coach, workshop facilitator and trainer, and I am delighted to have with me today Dr. Gabija Toleikyte, who is a neuroscientist. Gabija studied and did her PhD at University College London on the neuronal basis of memory and navigation. She runs seminars and fantastic trainings, and I can speak from personal experience. She really does take solid neuroscience research and combine it with really relevant context to make it really accessible. She really does bring neuroscience to life. And Gabija is also currently working on her first book. So delighted to have you here, Gabija. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Jo. Really, really nice to be here today.
Wonderful. I'm glad you could make time to do that. I know you have a very busy schedule and lots of personal life stuff coming up as well at the moment. So great that you can be here. As you know, this series of Follow Your Bliss interviews is about people who I admire and respect, that are going and doing their own thing, following their passion, following their bliss in life. So wanted to have a chat with you about really what following your bliss means to you and how you're following your bliss in life.
Yeah, I feel really, really, so delighted to be here, and it's wonderful to talk about these topics. So first of all, for me, if I could share the short story, the turning point in following my bliss actually was halfway through my PhD. I know on the paper, all these academic achievements, like scientific publications and doing PhD in neuroscience in one of the best universities in the world to do research on neuroscience. And I was in a really prestigious research lab where I could do, use the techniques which were really cutting edge techniques where there were only very few people in the world using them. But halfway through my PhD, I realized I was cycling to the lab, and I realized with the closer I was getting to the university, the weaker I felt. So I started to feel actually in my body that something is not quite right. And then some thoughts started coming up as like, I should be happier doing this than I am. And all sorts of beliefs accompanying it, such as, if only I could get these experiments to work, I'll be happy. If only, I don't know, my boyfriend at the time showed me more attention, I'll be happy. If only. There were very, very many conditions to be happy. But internally, I felt quite empty. I didn't feel much, it seemed like, for my brain, it felt really, really stimulating. It felt really exciting and invigorating. But for my heart, which are actually just different centers of the brain, to be honest, when we talk about it, it just felt something was missing. And I started asking, what's missing there? And I started looking for the answers and looking around, because initially I thought, what's wrong with me that I don't feel happy doing this? Because it was my dream doing PhD at UCL. I was in this really, really fortunate position where that year only 4 people in the world, could get that position to do PhD at UCL and be fully paid for everything. Our all university fees were paid, research expenses were paid, we were paid, for our living expenses and everything. So I could only focus on the research. And when I first thing was stopping blaming personally, looking for the fault internally and asking, what actually drives me? What actually motivates me? And I went to one seminar by Dr. John DeMartini, where he talked about individual value hierarchy. And I realized for me, people, helping people, understanding people, being with people was at the very, very top. Now, research came into there, understanding neuroscience, but it was all actually through the prism. I realized I chose neuroscience in order to help people and in order to understand what drives us, what motivates us, and, using the neuroscience as the tools to help people. And I realized that the reality at that time during my PhD couldn't be further from the aim, because I was spending 10 to 12 hours in the dark room on my own, shooting the lasers at the brains, And I was like, this is not working for me,
That's so not you as well, knowing you.
I would open the door, look at the people, close the door, and just and sit there, you know. And I was really like, and I didn't realize back then, but I think I was getting quite depressed at that time. And I tried, you know, to distract myself with all sorts of things. Like I ate so much sugar at that time. Every time I felt sad or empty, I would go downstairs to the canteen to have a pastry. Or I would listen to the music, or I would play like silly games on my phone during the breaks. But I realized that the root cause was that I wasn't really living, following my bliss. I was starting to get, you know, get kind of aware of what that was, but I was not quite there yet. So to cut the long story short, after I realized that, I started experimenting. What could there be? What form could there be? I started teaching teenagers in schools. I created a neuroscience course for them. I got qualification as a coach, and I started coaching senior university staff as internal performance at work coach. I started my own coaching company, Super G Coaching, where I was mainly coaching career changers at that time. And I realized that doing all of I started my own climbing club. I started to teach people to climb, just to experiment, you know, which of those things was my thing. And interestingly enough, I think when I combined coaching with neuroscience, that was a sweet spot for me. Because then I could actually use something what was really, really exciting for my mind, which was neuroscience and understanding the deeper mechanisms of human behavior, with actually really, really solid and profound tools to help people change. And that for me was a big, you know, that journey actually wasn't short. It took about 2 years actually to create that all. But to start actually, you know, doing that full time. But luckily I kind of used my time wisely on the side of my PhD to explore all these things. So when I finished PhD, actually I could, you know, be doing that full time afterwards.
Oh, that's great that you managed to do that and have that in place. And I think so many people who are learning are called to teach of that learning as well. It's like you're learning for yourself, but not just for yourself. You're learning so that you can then teach things to others, and you do it in such an accessible way. And you've obviously found that meaning and purpose in your life is that connection with people and that passing on of that knowledge to other people in a practical setting, like you say, in a coaching setting, in a seminar setting. That's wonderful. So your real bliss is around that connection to people and taking everything you've learned and putting that all together in that sweet spot, like you say. That
very interestingly, you know, when I started doing that, when I give seminars or do workshops, nothing else exists to me. Everything.
I've seen you in action. It's brilliant.
I feel so happy. I don't exist, you know. I don't feel who I am at that moment. That what's described as a flow moment. And the energy is completely different. I'm never too tired, too hungry, too whatever to do seminars, to run another seminar. As with if we compare that energy halfway through my PhD, as I was cycling to the university, it's like day and night.
It's that state of flow, isn't it? Like you say, it's almost when things are coming through you almost, you know, and you have that boundless energy because you're just in that complete, so present, so focused. Absolutely wonderful. Yeah, that's fantastic. Well, I guess, like you say, it hasn't all been plain sailing in terms of finding your bliss. What for you has been the biggest obstacle you faced, and how did you overcome that in terms of finding your passion and then following that passion?
Yeah, well, that's a very, very interesting question. I think the hardest thing was to learn to say no. Other opportunities which seemed which were ticking a lot more boxes. So they were actually, when I was nearing to the end of my PhD, I was already qualified coach. I already kicked in quite a lot of hours of coaching with my university clients. And I just started having my own coaching business, just started having paid clients from it. And at that very time, I got 3 job offers.
Wow.
2 were academic research job offers. And both of them sounded amazing. One of them was from the Nobel Prize laureate to do research in his team. And the other one was from the scientist I truly, truly respected, really young, really amazing scientist with whom like I really felt like he will go far. But also I really loved the way he ran his group. You know, he would sit with other scientists he just started his group and do experiments together and troubleshoot together. I was like, this would have been dream case scenario if I wanted to stay in academia, if I wanted to keep doing experiments in the labs. And I was so tempted to take either of those two job offers. And when but like my heart was actually saying, no, stick to your you know, like your business, it will grow.
Stick to your path, stick to your calling, don't get distracted.
But rationally, I couldn't see how it would work, because at that time, unfortunately, very soon before that, I lost my father. Yeah. And I spent all we had children, like we put together all the savings we had to pay for the funeral. So I spent all of my savings. I had zero savings. I couldn't, like I had some paid clients, but I couldn't see how it would be full-time thing. But I felt it will be fine. Inside, if I really sat with it, I felt it's going to be fine. But when I started to think and analyze, fear would kick in and say, oh no, that option is much, much better. Be working for these amazing scientists. And the projects sound really, really exciting. And so on and so forth. And then I started talking to my friends, or people whose opinion I respected. Every single one of them, or majority of them, 99% of them said, Gaby, you would be crazy to turn these job offers down.
I hear you on that one. When I stepped out and rejected the big job offer, the big director of comms role, people do look at you and think, isn't this what you want? You know, this is security, yeah. Money, this is safety. And you have to really know. I love the message you're giving here. I think people are going to find it so useful. It's about sticking to your path, you know, even when fear kicks in. I think that's wonderful.
I think for me it was the hardest, but I took the phone and called you know, call them to say, you know what, actually I want to give it a go with my coaching business. And both of them said, if you ever want to come back, just drop us an email.
Oh, wow.
So it was actually like, you know what, it was the best that I could expect. It was like, I think I could, like, in general, I noticed that actually people respect when you want to try your things, when you want to experiment on following your own path and create something. And when you take risks.
Gosh, that must have been scary picking up the phone though at the time. And
it was really hard, because at the back of my head there was little voice saying, are you sure? Is it the right thing? You know, would you have money to pay the rent next month? And so on. Yeah, so that was the hardest bit, really, to say no to these really, really tempting options and say, okay, I'm going to make it work.
And having that determination as well. So it's about knowing your path and having the faith to do what you want to do, and then having the determination to go and do it.
And not getting distracted by the easier options, because that would have been a lot easier. You know, really, really secure path. I knew where it's leading, secure income. It kind of just following more of the same, just, you know, a bit different. And that was completely unknown.
But that's part of it, isn't it? It's that unknown, and it's that fear of uncertainty that we have. And actually, when we embrace the uncertainty, it's got a lot more opportunities. Because you said it yourself, the other paths were really known. They were really safe paths. I've had a coaching client recently describe the well-trodden path as being full of lights. You know, there's clearly lit path all the way, but actually to go the less trodden, or the road less traveled, as they say, is harder, isn't it? But then it's more exciting, because you're kind of carving out your own path, you know?
Yeah.
Fantastic. So what advice would you give from your own experience for others who are looking to follow their own path in life? And is there anything you would have done differently looking back?
I think a few things. So first of all, starting exploring in the small format early on. So for me, it took 2 years before I was at that crossroad, you know, to take these job offers or to start to do my own business. It wasn't that I started only at that time. I actually already invested 2 years of my time, part-time, on the side, trying things out. Because a lot of times things get clearer in action. So really get in action in small format. If writing is what you want to do, start writing a blog. Without of course, you might want to be a full-time author and write a book, but start with a blog and see how you feel. So start small format and observe, does that energize you? Or do you feel like you're shooting yourself to do that? Right. And as I mentioned at the beginning, I tried a few different paths. I tried teaching teenagers, climbing instructor, coaching full-time, then seminars, and combining a few of those. So I think it might require experimenting and going into that with more of a learner's experimenter's mind. And there is quite a good book actually on that by Barbara Sher called I Could Do Anything If Only I Knew What It Was, which helped me enormously. So it describes the phenomenon called parallel career building, which that's technically what I've done, where you actually dedicate time each week, in each day, if possible, just a little bit of time to kind of do a little step towards that. Because, it's once you have things really, really clear in your heart and in your mind, what is it that you want to do? That's an easy bit. But to get there, that's the harder bit, because I see that a lot of times in my clients, they say, oh, I would do like what I love, but I don't know what that is.
Yes, so much. I even wrote a blog post on that. It's people seem to think that there should be some sort of shining beacon and they should know exactly what they want to do. And so many clients say, well, I don't know my direction. I can, yes, please help coach me to get goals to move in my direction, but I don't know what my direction is. So that's a really good, helpful book recommendation. Thanks.
And it's like just realizing that it takes time and it takes action.
Yes.
In order to figure out. Just sitting and waiting and doing the same old things won't enlighten you.
Exactly. It's not going to come to you if you're sitting there.
Trying things out, because at that stage I went to so many seminars, read so many books, and actually got in action, because books and seminars are great as a starting point, but it's not enough. Once you got the insights, apply that in action. So in fact, you can ask yourself, what is one thing I could do this week to get a bit clearer on what is my bliss? Just one thing. Next week ask what's another thing, and just focus on that thing, because getting clear, knowing things is a natural consequence. We can't force that. It's just doing the inspired action after inspired action and seeing where it takes.
Yeah, and it's not going to take you anywhere if you don't do any action.
If you don't do any action, unfortunately, 99% of the cases, we would just stick to the easiest route, because to our brains actually naturally resist change and want to stick to the safe option. Okay. That's very, very normal for any animals, human beings included.
And that willingness to try things, like you said, the willingness to, I don't even want to call it make mistakes, because it's not a mistake, because everything leads to learning, but to try something and maybe go, oh no, actually, that's not something I'm so keen on. Or like you say, to combine some things, you really weren't afraid to go out and try stuff, and you weren't deterred when it wasn't something that you wanted to follow.
Yeah, I was afraid at the times, but I did it anyway. There was another book, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway, because
a great book, and one that I'm a licensed trainer for. Yeah, Susan.
Because you run workshops on that, don't you?
Yes, so important. So many people get held back by their fear, but you're a great example there, where it's not like people can't just look at you and say, oh no, look at Gaby, she's completely fearless. Oh, I can't possibly do that. You experienced that fear, and yet you still took action. You didn't let that fear hold you in a powerless place. You actually
because fear is just to warn us that we're doing something what's new, or something what we are not used to yet. And only by actually doing those things, it becomes familiar. And as a result, we don't feel fear anymore, but it requires doing it over and over again, multiple times. As you know, in the climbing route, a lot of times when I took newbies to climb for the first time, most people, about I would say 2/3, were scared of heights. More than half people were scared of heights. But only after doing the route and getting freaking out, they would freak out. Okay, let's climb down. Okay, let's do it again, just a little bit higher this time. And only by that, the fear would go away. For nobody, the fear of heights went away just by kind of, avoiding to do that.
Exactly. And that's what Susan says in her book. You know, we all think, oh, I will make that phone call when I'm feeling more confident, or I'll do this when I'm feeling less scared. That's not the way to do it. Like you say, you know, you've got to feel the fear and then take the action whilst you're still feeling the fear, and retrain your brain that there's nothing to be frightened of. That's fantastic. So even with the climbing, I love that parallel of the fear that you experience in climbing as well.
With climbing, there's a lot of parallels to life. Some of my coaching clients, I took climbing instead of one-off coaching session. We did experiential coaching where I took them climbing, and one of the clients, she got so many insights on her situation, and very soon after, actually, she changed the jobs.
Oh, fantastic. Gosh, well, I climb as well. So you and I should go climbing together sometime, although maybe not in the near future. And also, maybe it's a good thing to do with clients. Like you say, it's a really parallel situation around very physically feeling that fear, because a lot of people do have that fear of heights, but actually tackling it and feeling it anyway. So you went ahead despite these fears. And I guess, what are the next steps for you in terms of following your bliss? You know, what's next in the world of Gabija? What projects are you currently working on that we can give a shout out to here, that people can get involved with? What's on the cards?
Well, I have really, really exciting stage actually coming up. I'm currently 5 months pregnant.
I know.
I have a little girl coming on the way, so I'm growing that little fetus in my tummy. So that's the most exciting bit for me, because that actually brings me again to the land of unknown.
Of course.
So currently I'm really booked up till Christmas with, you know, seminars and coaching and workshops. But after that, I don't know. People ask me, like, when are you going to come back from the maternity leave? I was like, I'm not really sure. What are you going to do after maternity leave? I don't really know just yet, because it's just sitting with it. And I was actually reflecting today and journaling about it today. You know, how does that feel? That kind of be in that land of unknown. And the metaphor which came to my mind was, have you ever seen a cancer? You know, those crayfish, like crayfish, they kind of, when they grow, crayfish has to get rid of the shell.
The shell, yeah, absolutely.
And for a while, it's with no shell whatsoever. It's walking around all that vulnerable. It can, if it gets attacked by somebody, it's gone, you know. But for a while, it's a necessary stage to sit with that like unknown, and with that without a kind of secure shell. And then once then the crayfish grows, has a spurt of growth, and then shell is formed again. But that's a necessary stage for any transformation, for any growth, sitting with kind of a bit of uncomfort, a bit of lack of safety, and be sitting with that unknown. So for me, that's a bit of a stage of unknown for that. But up till that, so up till the Christmas, I'm still in the you know, doing very similar things. I'm running my last whole day workshop for coaches and businesses on leadership and decision making, how to actually how to inspire others, how to inspire yourself actually, and how to incorporate your emotions into decision-making process.
Massively important for leaders. People do not realize this. Just been writing a piece actually around how leaders are, the old-fashioned kind of paradigm of in business is this persona, this mask that we think we have to wear of professionalism, but actually I think that would be a great skill to bring authenticity into leadership, and actually make people realize that becoming a good leader is not about this kind of fake, you know, emotionless persona of professionalism. It's about bringing your aspects of your personality, bringing your emotions. It's emotional intelligence. It's all Daniel Goleman.
But the most important thing, I think the most interesting thing, that when we act differently, when we engage in different styles of leadership, in other words, we evoke very, very different mental processes in other people. Because when we're dissonant and kind of just being, you know, all cool and how we think we're supposed to be, we evoke that in others. But when we actually are open and honest and like show high levels of integrity and high levels of emotional awareness, we help others do that too.
Yes, leading by
those leaders actually raise true leaders as well.
Yes, I've
And they
heard that.
help and they help other people make really sound decisions, because now there is a lot of evidence, which I wouldn't go into, that in order to make the best decisions for ourselves personally, but also in our work, we need to be aware of our emotions, because emotions add extra information into that process of what's right, what's not. It's a lot. There's a lot going on in our subconscious mind, which gives us like suggestions in the form of emotions. So we will discuss a lot more on the 4th of November, if anyone is interested. It's
And
a whole
we should put those notes in at the bottom of the video, Gabby, definitely.
Yeah,
and I've also heard that leaders, we instinctively don't trust leaders as employees. We don't trust the leader if they're being, like you say, cool and a bit detached. We have this inherent distrust of them because they're not. We can tell, like you say, there's so much rich texture.
We can feel immediately.
Yeah, we can sense that it's fake.
Our certain centers of our limbic system in our brain can sense immediately. We might not rationally understand why, but with other people we're drawn to. Others we kind of just close off, and we don't show ourselves. And that's very automatic and quick. Yeah,
it is. We don't realize, do we? And I think so many people, it seems counterintuitive. They don't want to show their vulnerability. They think that they should be very professional at work, and they should, I'm doing this because it's kind of, like, it's keeping you away from people.
Outdated.
By showing your vulnerability, you're helping people to trust you, and trust you as a leader, and not just in leadership roles, but in life. So the more
if I could mention, like, we know each other with Joe from my workshops, and in this workshop is for leaders and for coaches who are working with leaders. Because in my opinion, if we truly want to help the clients best as coaches, therapists, consultants, it's helpful to understand the mechanisms of that. And that's usually, neuroscience, I find, is a very, very kind of good language in the business world, because it's evidence-based.
Yes, exactly. There's no arguing with it. It's not just all these soft, floaty skills that people feel like they can't relate to. I mean, like I say, with Daniel Goleman's work in emotional intelligence and with, hard neuroscience facts, there's no arguing with it. It's, like I say, it's evidence-based, backed up by research. So fantastic.
Yeah, I know we're running out of time. Just to mention quickly, I'm also writing a book. So that's another new thing I've just started. Because I want to reach as many people as possible to share those day-to-day neuroscience insights. So that's just something, another new chapter for me.
Fantastic. And I love what you said about uncertainty. I think that's a really good take-home message for anyone watching this video about and your analogy of the crayfish as well, actually having to step into the unknown, and it to be a really important part of growth, to be kind of to sit with it, as you say, in that place where you have all this opportunity. I mean, we all think that we want structure, we want everything mapped out for us, but if our whole life was mapped out and we knew exactly when everything was going to happen in our lives, my God, how boring that would be. So to actually sit with uncertainty and sit with the unknown and all this opportunity. I mean, already you have so many projects going on, and like you say, you have this period of, wow, what next, and how exciting.
And very important is also to adjust decisions as we go along, because we grow out of our goals as we grow out of our clothes, right? If right now, if I asked you to put on the jeans you wore when you were 10 years old, most of us couldn't fit in, right? Hopefully. I
we did pretty well everywhere.
But imagine, we forget to update our values, to update the things which truly, truly matter to us. And we sometimes keep on chasing outdated goals. So really ask yourself, like, this is I keep reminding to myself, and hopefully it helps to either of you watching that. Is the goal I'm really, really running after, is it still important to me?
Very important. Very important to keep looking at your vision and your goals on a regular basis, every few months, ideally, isn't it? As coaches, I'm sure you do the same, I do the same, and clients need to do the same. Everybody needs to look at what they're chasing after, and to see if it's what they really want, rather than just blindly chasing after something. Like you say, things can change, and that's absolutely fine. We don't have to be wedded to something, in the same way that when knowing our direction is not necessarily this big kind of holy grail, right, that's my calling in life, that's what I'm always going to do. It's not going to come about like that. It's going to come about through testing the water and small actions, and then it's constantly checking back in with that calling. Actually, is that my calling, or is that evolving? Like you say, we grow as people and we evolve, and are our goals changing as well? That's fantastic. Well, it's certainly going to be exciting times for you. And part of that is that opportunity, that unknown period. That's fantastic. Wow. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Gabby. That's wonderful.
Thank you so much, Jo. It was wonderful talking to you. Wonderful to hear your insights, and I'm sure you help your clients, a lot more how to take the actionable, practical steps in figuring out their bliss and following their bliss and sitting with those uncomfortable emotions. And thank you for doing all of that.
Oh, thank you. Well, yeah, this is why I want to do this series of videos, because I think it's really important for people looking to follow their own path in life, if they can take tips and actionable tools from people like yourself who are already going about doing that. So I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Brilliant. And if anybody wants to get in touch, you can find my details on my website, mybrainduringtheday.com. You can find my phone number and my email address, and there is a list of activities and workshops and talks I'm delivering there as well.
Fantastic. So that's mybrainduringtheday.com, and I'll also put it in the info section when this video goes up on YouTube as well. And actually, I'll get that book reference from you as well after this. We'll pop all the information up there to make this video as useful to people as it absolutely can be. So that's wonderful.
Okay. Thank you so much, Jo. Thank you for inviting me and for having me here today.
Wonderful. Thank you, Gabija.